Hello and welcome to German Lessons with Mr. Ferguson. Hallo und herzlich willkommen zum Deutschunterricht mit Herrn Ferguson. Diese grammatische Stunde, this grammar lesson, heißt der deutsche Satzbau, German Sentence Structure. Before wir anfangen, please remember to like this video, bitte klickt gefällt mir, and to subscribe to my channel so that I can keep helping you with your German. Bitte vergesst nicht zu abonnieren. If you'd like to support my work, please buy me a coffee by clicking the banner now. Many thanks for your support. Vielen Dank. To understand this lesson, it's important that you understand the basics of German word order, and in particular the fact that the verb needs to be the second idea in the sentence by default. If you aren't sure of this rule or would like a recap, please go back and watch my comprehensive German word order video by clicking the banner now. During this lesson, we'll be looking at a rule I refer to as TMPO, pronounced tempo, which is going to help us organise the extra information in a sentence. Let's get started by having a look at standard German word order in practice. We learned in the previous video that the standard German word order of the present tense is subject, verb, extra information, meaning that the verb is the second idea in the sentence. Thus, a sentence such as Ich esse am Montag Pizza, I am eating pizza on Monday, is a correct sentence. If starting with the time phrase, am Montag, we also learnt that we need to employ inversion to ensure that the verb remains in the second position. Am Montag esse ich Pizza. On Monday, I am eating pizza. In my Mastering the Perfect Tense video, we also learnt the technique that I refer to as SHEP, subject, helping verb, extra information, past participle. If you need to recap this lesson or haven't seen it yet, you can do so by clicking the banner now. A perfect tense example is Ich habe am Montag Pizza gegessen. I ate pizza on Monday. If you are familiar with the future tense, you'll know that the structure of a future tense sentence is generally subject, form of werden, extra information, infinitive. If you'd like to recap how to form the future tense, you can do so by clicking this banner now. A future tense example is Ich werde am Montag Pizza essen. I will eat pizza on Monday. The rule TMPO is a rule that governs the correct order of the extra information. Generally, we don't always need all elements of TMPO, which I'll explain shortly, but the order in which they appear is consistent. There are additions to the rule which we can consider as optional but advanced, which I'll discuss at the end of the video, so do keep watching to the end if you want to push your German to the next level. So, starting with the T section, which refers to the time at which something happens. This could be a temporal adverb, i.e. a time phrase which describes frequency or the time at which something happens. If you'd like to learn more about temporal adverbs, you can watch that video by clicking this banner now. Here are some examples of temporal adverbs along with am Montag, on Monday, that we saw earlier. Jeden Abend, every evening. Mittwochs, on Wednesdays. Am Wochenende, at the weekend. Morgens, in the mornings. Immer, always. Oft, often. Morgen, tomorrow. Gestern, yesterday. Übermorgen, the day after tomorrow. And vorgestern, the day before yesterday. The M of the TMPO rule refers to the manner in which something happens, i.e. how it happens. For example, quickly, carefully, with my brother, by bike, etc. It's useful to know in German that adjectives can be used as adverbs, and so schnell, which means quick, can also mean quickly. It's also worth reminding ourselves that the preposition mit, meaning with or by, if used with a vehicle, is always used with the dative case. If you want to recap how to use the dative case, you can watch that video by clicking the banner now. Some phrases that we might use in this section of the tempo rule are schnell, quickly, vorsichtig, carefully, mit meinem Bruder, with my brother, zu Fuß, on foot, mit dem Fahrrad, by bike. The P section of the tempo rule deals with a place, as in where something is happening or a destination. Some phrases that cover this aspect are ins Kino, to the cinema, in den Park, to the park, am Strand, on the beach, nach Berlin, to Berlin, bei Freunden, with friends or at friends' houses. Finally, the O section of the tempo rule refers to the object. Now, if you've watched my accusative and dative videos, you'll know that there are two types of object in German sentences. The direct object, which is always used in the accusative case, and the indirect object, which is far less common, but, if present, is used in the dative case. For the O, we will be focusing on the direct object, which means we'll be using the accusative case. I will make sure that there's a link to my accusative case video in the description for this video too, so that you can go back and recap this if you need to. Not every sentence will have a direct object, but those that do will have their direct object appear as the final piece of extra information in the middle of sentences. Direct objects may include things such as Pizza, pizza, einen Film, a film, ein Buch, a book, viel Geld, lots of money, etc. So, now that we know the tempo rule and what it refers to, we can start to look at how we'll accurately build sentences in German with correct word order. First, let's start with some examples in the present tense. I buy a glass of wine at the pub with my sister every evening. From the above sentence, we can notice an interesting pattern about English word order, namely that word order is the exact opposite of TMPO, OPMT. In the above, the time is every evening, which in German is jeden Abend. The manner is with my sister, mit meiner Schwester. The place is at the pub, in der Kneipe. And the object is a glass of wine, ein Glas Wein. This results in the sentence, Ich kaufe jeden Abend mit meiner Schwester in der Kneipe ein Glas Wein. What we can also see from these sentences is that any sentence which involves every element of the tempo rule is an abnormally long sentence which feels somewhat excessive. It's far more usual for a sentence to contain one or two of the tempo elements. When this happens, the order is retained. For example, if there's no time, but there is a manner, place, and object, they will still stay in this order, i.e. MPO. If there is a time, there's no manner, no place, but there is an object, then the order is TO. In a sentence without a time or an object, the order is MP, and so on. So, let's look at some more realistic examples with all elements of the tempo rule color-coded. Ich esse jeden Tag gesund. I eat healthily every day. Wir gehen sehr oft ins Kino. We go to the cinema very often. Kaufst du regelmäßig eine Zeitung? Do you, in an informal singular sense, regularly buy a newspaper? Mein Bruder spielt mit seinen Freunden Computerspiele. My brother plays computer games with his friends. Now that we've seen how this works in the present, we can see how this works in other tenses too. Firstly, let's look at the present tense with a modal verb. You can learn more about those by following the link in the description of this video if needed. Ich muss jede Woche zu Hause Hausaufgaben machen. I have to do my homework at home every week. Now, an imperfect tense modal verb. Wir wollten früher mit unseren Freunden in London wohnen. We previously wanted to live with our friends in London. Or, we used to want to live with our friends in London. Now, a perfect tense sentence using the Shep word order. Meine Schwester ist gestern mit dem Auto in die Stadt gefahren. My sister drove to town, by car, yesterday. Finally, a future tense sentence. Ich werde mit meinem Bruder im Park joggen gehen. I will go jogging in the park with my brother. Earlier in the video, I reminded you of the inversion rule and how this is used when starting the sentence with a time or a place. In these examples, and particularly in sentences with more of the tempo elements, we can start with a time or a place to minimize how busy the sentence feels. So let's use our example from earlier. Ich kaufe jeden Abend mit meiner Schwester in der Kneipe ein Glas Wein, which could also be rewritten as jeden Abend kaufe ich mit meiner Schwester in der Kneipe ein Glas Wein. Or in der Kneipe kaufe ich jeden Abend mit meiner Schwester ein Glas Wein. Finally, as I mentioned previously, there are optional extras that we can learn in order to push our understanding of this rule further. And the main element I'd like to talk about here is another section for the extra information, which governs the dative object, which I will also refer to as DO, pronounced do. If you've managed to catch up on my dative case video, you'll know that there are occasionally dative objects that are used with verbs. These are either with verbs which always govern the dative case, generally verbs which involve doing something to or for someone, such as telling them something, giving them something, helping them, etc. Or verbs which have a dative reflexive pronoun. If you aren't sure what I mean by a dative reflexive pronoun, it's a good idea to recap my reflexive verbs video, which you'll find a link for in the description. On the occasion that a sentence needs a dative object, it will appear before tempo, i.e. as close to the verb as possible. That means that, in truth, the full word order rule can be thought of as DoTeMPO, which I teach my students as an instruction. Always remember to do tempo. Let's look at two verbs with dative objects. Firstly, helfen, to help, a verb which always has a dative object. Ich helfe meiner Mutter jeden Tag mit der Hausarbeit. I help my mother with the housework every day. The past participle of helfen is geholfen. Hast du ihm neulich im Geschäft geholfen? Have you, in an informal singular sense, recently helped him in the shop? The second verb is actually a reflexive verb phrase with a dative object, as well as a direct object. Sich die Zähne putzen, to clean the teeth for oneself, or to brush your teeth. Ich putze mir zweimal pro Tag im Badezimmer die Zähne. Literally, I clean the teeth for myself in the bathroom twice a day. But this actually translates as, I clean my teeth in the bathroom twice a day. So, that's the explanation of how to use the tempo rule, and for more advanced learners, the DoTeMPO rule. It's a good idea to pause the video now to recap how we structure the extra information section of German sentences using these rules. Habe ich etwas vergessen? If you're a native German speaker and think I've forgotten something important about German word order within a sentence, please let me know in the comments. Bitte schreibt einen Kommentar. Also, please remember to click subscribe to receive all of my German lesson videos, language learning tips, and updates. You can support my work by donating at www.co-fi.com/Herr Ferguson, and you can follow me for more German language insights on Instagram under the username Herr Ferguson. Otherwise, from me, it's Danke und auf Wiedersehen.